Hello everybody, Weegee here, and today we will be talking about episode 3 of Dragon Age Absolution, A Serpent's Coil. This episode of the show was more focused on combat, so there might not be as much commentary to be had. As always, spoiler alert, I will be going into detail about the episode. Episode 3 of Absolution kicks off right where the last episode ends, with Roland and Lachlan seeing Miriam hovering over a dead Fairbanks. Naturally, they are both very suspicious about what happened. Lachlan more than Roland. Miriam explains that she found him like that. Then she tries to explain why she left, which was because she was trying to find the little elf girl. Thank God I was right. It makes it so much easier to like Miriam knowing that she tried to right that wrong, that she wasn't going to leave the girl to her fate, even if she failed to find her. The important part is that she tried. Maybe she is starting to realize that the mission isn't always more important than her morals. Roland believes that there must be an explanation, believing in Miriam. He even convinces Lachlan through logic that it wouldn't make sense, which I loved. It's so refreshing to see a character point out obvious facts to explain why something doesn't make sense, and then for the person they are talking to accept those facts. For them to change their opinions based on them. It's something you honestly only see in choice-based video games. Which makes sense for the show because it's Bioware. The way that he presents his argument feels like it could come directly from the games, like he chose the right options to placate Lachlan. But as soon as one argument ends, another one starts. This one about whether they should go back out there to save the others. Roland and Miriam are on the same side, wanting to go save Hira and Quidian. Lachlan again is on the other side of the disagreement, wanting to leave. But then Roland kicks up the charm. So with a little bit of flirting and playing to Lachlan's ego by telling him that bards will sing a song of his bravery, he manages to convince them to go with them. Again, the dialogue in this show feels very Dragon Age, which we get more of later as well, which is a good thing because the writing in the games is widely praised, with the dialogue between the characters being some of the best in video games. As they go to leave, the show cuts to Tasia and Rosarin, when a familiar voice shows up. I guess they still wanted Matt in the show even after his character died, which I honestly can't fault them for that, he's an amazing talent. This guard tells them of the glyphs put on the cathedral, tipping them off about what is happening. Before Tasia goes to save the people in the cathedral, she convinces Rosarin to enter the Divine's apartments so that he will be safe from danger, leaving him with Neb, who hasn't talked once, but appears to be important as they have given him a name. I wonder if he is that second elf from the flashbacks. Because he wasn't dead in the flashbacks, he didn't have any wounds on him after all. He seemed to be being trained alongside Miriam, who was to be an assassin for Rosarin's family. So maybe he was being trained to be a bodyguard. Rosarin makes her promise to check on the artifacts, which she does. A promise that she immediately goes back on as she goes to the cathedral instead, telling Mercer that the vault can protect itself, that she's not going to put protecting the artifact over protecting people's lives. If she wasn't a Dementor, I might actually really like her, as she is a great person. She is the kind of character that I usually love having as a companion when I play these games, because their morals usually align with mine. She is the kind of person that will protect people no matter what, the kind of person who always wants to do what is right for the people. It's unfortunate that the people in question for her are racist slavers. So by proxy, she is protecting a system of racism. She's probably going to regret breaking that promise to Rosarin. The show then cuts to its first of many fight scenes of the episode, with Miriam, Lachlan, and Roland fighting their way through the undead zombies of the elven slaves mentioned in episode 2. I really like the designs they went with on the zombies. Having torn simple clothes really sells the whole slave zombies thing. And the glowing green insides help accentuate the magical nature of these particular zombies. It's kind of fucked up that Miriam has to kill the resurrected bodies of her fellow slaves, though it doesn't seem like she minds, or more than likely doesn't know. I wonder where these zombies got weapons from though, as I doubt that the Devinters just let any old slave carry weapons. The 3D animation here for the zombies looks a lot better than the Pride Demon. Honestly, if you aren't paying super close attention, you might not even notice. Fighting their way through the swarm, they arrive at the intersection of the hallway that Quidian was chased down by the Rage Demon. And they have to make the hard choice of heading towards Hira instead of Quidian, as she is in more pressing danger. But Miriam promises Roland that they will come back for her afterwards. We get a short scene with Quidian running away from the demon, leading it to the chantry where it kills the guards. Am I a bad person for laughing at the scene? I mean, the way Quidian is just screaming hysterically as she runs by, plus the expression on her face, is just priceless. Even the way the guards react to the demon is funny, but that shouldn't be funny, because they are brutally murdered by said demon. The show returns to Miriam's group as they arrive at the entrance of the hidden chamber, to find Hira trapped by some sort of magical barrier. Miriam heads to Hira and we get that classic lesbian in love line where one of them calls the other an idiot for coming back for them. While Miriam tries to break her free, the others prepare to fight the zombies that are about to break through the doors. Before the battle begins, we get a small scene between Rosarin and Neb, where he is trying to convince him to let him through to no avail, before limiting the fact that he asked him to be the perfect soldier. There is definitely more to this relationship besides just being his bodyguard. I can't wait to see how it ties in with Miriam. Then back to the fight, and we get some really well animated swordplay and axe play with Roland and Lachlan. For people that have just met, they fight with a lot of chemistry. My favorite parts of this fight have to be when Roland throws Lachlan's axe back at him after he drops it, and this sequence right before that, when Lachlan is twirling his axe around like it's nothing. Honestly, I'm not that big fan of axes usually, but Lachlan makes it look fun. While they're fighting, Miriam is trying to break Hira out to no avail. Seeing that the end is likely near, Hira makes a final request to Miriam to deliver the circulum to a contact of hers in Kirkwall at the Hanged Man. No way, they can't be talking about who I think they are. Did he make his way back to Kirkwall after the Inquisition? This also means I might be right, that she did betray the Inquisition, as this contact is different from the one Fairbanks had in Orlais, which was likely Liliana. So perhaps my theory of Fairbanks' actions holds some water, and they knew that she was going to betray them, or maybe Fairbanks' contact wasn't Liliana and was just untrustworthy. The show then goes back to Tasia, who alongside her guards, much like Miriam's crew, are fighting their way through zombies. During this fight, Mercer Guard almost dies, but is saved by Tasia, after she delivers this absolutely brutal hammer shot to a demon. It was awesome. She then tells him the first rule of combat: don't take your eyes off the enemy, which will come up later. We also have this completely unnecessary jumping kick from Tasia in the fight. It looks really cool, but impractical for someone wearing that much armor. The show then cuts to Quidian. This episode cuts back and forth a lot. I'm just going to go through all of Quidian's scenes now. So while all this is happening, Quidian is running away from the zombies, trying to find her way out. As she is making her way outside, she hears the cries of people in trouble. She almost ignores them, but can't bring herself to actually do it. So she heads towards it, where she finds some elven slaves trying to fight off the enemy. Quidian manages to kill them all, saving the slaves. During these scenes, we finally get a taste of elemental magic in the show, and it's glorious. This magic is probably the magic type most people were looking forward to seeing when they announced the show, and it looks really good. The way the lightning arcs around the enemies when she uses arc lightning is really cool. I love the way that her staff's head reflects what magic she's about to cast, glowing red or purple depending on if it's lightning or fire, showing off how staffs help conduct mage's magic. After she saves the elves, they start to chant for her, calling her giantess, in a really cute scene. There's also this really cool fucking Spartan kick in this fight that reminds you that she is an 8-foot Canary, as Quidian sends one of the monsters flying. Next, let's finish Tasia's fights. As they open the doors that lead to the chantry, she runs into a rage demon. And this is when that little lesson comes into play, as Tasia distracts the demon while Mercer sneaks up behind to attack it. This works, and he manages to land a solid blow on the demon before getting thrown off. And then Tasia finishes off with a sweet flip smash with her hammer. I love this little tiny minor character arc for this random soldier, learning how to be a better guard while fighting with Tasia, taking her lessons to heart and even helping fell a giant rage demon. It's not groundbreaking stuff, but it does help give this more action heavy episode some more drama. Finally, let's finish off Miriam's stuff as the battle between Roland, Lachlan, and the zombies continues, and you can see the exhaustion from this fight starting to wear on them. Their movements get more clumsy and slow, with them tumbling out of the way of attacks and in Lachlan's case being brought to one knee from a simple slash. Roland thinks that they are getting stronger, but I think it has more to do with them getting tired. Demons soon begin to charge through the door, and things don't seem to be looking good. Was it just me, or do these demons look really 2000s emo? Like they even do that hair over the eye flip thing. Maybe they are the angst demons. Roland decides improvising is the best option, so he steals the grenades off of Lachlan through a well-placed dip and flirt, blowing up the emo demons. While this is happening, Miriam is desperately trying to free Hira from the magical prison, but nothing is working. She even goes as far as to strike it with one of her daggers, sending her flying and the dagger flying. Hira, realizing the hopelessness of the situation and with a dragon awakening below, decides that it's for the best if they leave her, and after a sorrowful goodbye to Miriam, heads back into the chamber, leaving a heartbroken Miriam to escape the palace with Lachlan and Roland. The action in this scene was phenomenal. I love the way that they showcase the effects of drawn-out combat on our heroes, with them getting sloppier as their stamina was pushed to its limits. On the other side, we had the desperation of Miriam trying to free the woman that she loves, only for her to leave her behind, so that they both don't die. That moment when Miriam grabs Hira's hand before Hira begins to walk to her death was devastating. Their voice actors did a phenomenal job of selling the desperation of the situation and the sorrow of what they had to do. They then make their escape from the room. Along the way to the exit, they meet up with Quidian, but when they open the secret exit, they are greeted by guards. Which is weird, because I thought only those close to the Magisters knew about this entrance. How do these random guards know about it? As they finish off the guards, Mercer shows up with a crossbow, getting ready to take one of them down with him. Before he is knocked out by Rosarin, who made his escape from the apartments earlier through using some sort of suggestion spell on Neb. Upon seeing Miriam, a warm expression comes across his face as he greets her, calling her sister. What? Episode 3 of Absolution felt like a combat session in D&D. With Dragon Age being based on D&D, though, it makes sense, with it focusing more on action than the story. The fight scenes in this episode were all awesome and incredibly varied, even though they were all fighting the same enemies. The animators did a very good job of differentiating all of the characters' fighting styles to make them all feel unique. We got our first taste of elemental magic in this episode, with Quidian, and it looks spectacular. I especially like this shot of the enemies behind her firewall, and the moment she charges her chain lightning with her magic coalescing at the tip of her staff before shooting out through the ground at the enemies. It was just... The combat told a story itself. With Tasia, we had this mini arc with the Mercer guard coming into his own as a guard through combat experience, even gaining enough courage to engage our protagonist. With Lachlan and Roland, a story of exhaustion was told. As they fought, their movements got less fluid. They started to move more sluggishly. Strikes that they would normally be able to deflect or block now made them dodge, or brought them to their knees in Lachlan's case. This really helped sell the desperation of the situation that they were in, and helped rationalize Hira's decision to walk off to her own death to save them. Because as this was happening, Miriam was trying to save Hira from a magical barrier that she had been trapped in. And this is where most of the story progression came in, with Hira entrusting Miriam with the Circulum to bring it to her contact in Kirkwall, not Fairbanks as in Orlais. Which was a pretty shocking moment, but a possibility I mentioned in the last episode, which was of Hira being a traitor to the Inquisition. It brings up some questions, like whether Fairbanks knew about it and that's the reason that he tried to kill her. Is Hira the real villain, or is this contact of Fairbanks untrustworthy? The Inquisition broke up after all, but it stands to reason that this contact had some connection to the Inquisition, as they are the ones that gave him to him. So maybe Hira deemed her contact more trustworthy. This episode added more mystery to this operation. Questions I hope to answer in the coming episodes. Speaking of questions I want the answer to, let's talk about that final line of the episode, where Rosarin calls Miriam sister. I think this lends credibility to my theory that the woman in the flashbacks is his mother. I think that she raised both these elves together with her son to train them to be his bodyguards, though that isn't how he would have seen it. Given the way that they were interacting in the flashbacks, he treated them like his own siblings. That would mean that this other elf is likely Miriam's brother. But what happened to him? We haven't seen him around at all. Well, maybe we have. It is possible that he is Neb, the bodyguard. He had a close relationship with Rosarin and is completely armored up, probably as a surprise later in the show to shock Miriam. Maybe the magic attack left him mute, or he could have been born that way. Either way, I'm sure we will learn more in the coming episode. This episode also has some very Dragon Age-y lines in it. We got some Maker's Titties and some nug-humping bastard stuff thrown out by both Quidian and Lachlan. So it's always nice to see that kind of dialogue in the show, because it shows that the people who wrote this did in fact play the game. Overall, I think that I would give this episode an 8.5 out of 10. It wasn't quite as good as the previous episodes, with it focusing a lot more on combat, which was really well animated, but not exactly what I'm most interested in when it comes to Dragon Age media. So if you like this video, give it a like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching. Weegee out.